Last night, our keynote speaker, former OU women's basketball coach Sherri Coale, gave us a lot to think about in her opening talk titled, "What Makes You Think You Can?" She's back to empower and motivate us once again in today's message titled, "What Makes You Think You Can't?" Ladies, please welcome our keynote speaker for the weekend, Sherri Coale.
Thank you so much, and good morning. Welcome back to those of you who were, I should give you time. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you. Welcome back to those of you who were here yesterday. Thank you for coming back again this morning and not running. And thank you to all of you who just showed up this morning for being a part of this magical day. You know, I'm from Oklahoma. I'm not from Kansas, but we have some similarities. For example, the weather. You know, we have a saying in Oklahoma that if you don't like it today, just wait till tomorrow because it'll be different. Well, that's exactly what happened here today. And I think that the people who run this conference have a really wicked sense of humor. Last night at 9 o'clock, they had Lisa, right? Okay, so having Lisa at 9 o'clock is like giving your kids Mountain Dew after the 10 o'clock news. When I met her yesterday for the first time, she was in the middle of her second sentence, and I said, "Wait a minute, where are you from?" And she said, "Tennessee." And I thought, oh my goodness, they better give this woman more than 30 minutes because she says words with more syllables than are required. But you know what? She got up last night and she talked really fast and she started pulling things out of a dollar store bag. And I drove over the speed limit all the way back to the hotel. I was so wound up. She's just a sample of the gifted presenters that I have the opportunity to share the stage with today. I want to say a quick apology to my Alabama sister, Tiffany, who was my teammate at game night last night, because I let her down royally in the second half. I woke up in the middle of the night thinking, VHS tape goes in a VCR. I literally almost got out of bed and did push-ups. Like, oh, I can't believe I did that. Ridiculous. You know, at the breakfast this morning, we got to hear from a lot of ambassadors who have shared the word about this conference with home congregations and with friends and family all across the United States and beyond. And one of the things that was repeated most often there was the depth of relationships that are either created or reinvested in via this conference. They are girls' weekends, they are women's days out where you can go and not be interrupted and you can worship with your sisters and you connect with like minds. You can share thoughts and dreams and inspiration and troubles and hardships. And for all of us who get an opportunity to share this stage, I want you to know that your passion reaches us. Your desire, the purity of your desire to follow Jesus wraps us up. And I just want to say, on behalf of myself and all of them, thank you for that. It is a wonderful thing to be in the midst of. I always feel like when a group of women are together, that there's some special kind of juju. And no offense, I know there's some men running around here working really, really hard, but when a group of women get together, look out, because things are going to happen. And I feel that in your presence today, so thank you for being here. In 2009, we had a really good team at the University of Oklahoma. We had an experienced roster. We were ranked number 7th in the country to start the season. And on this experienced roster, we had 4 players from California, 2 seniors and 2 juniors. And so one of the things we always did, my staff and I, was we would always try to schedule an opportunity in the 4-year period of a student athlete to take that student athlete back home to play in front of their friends and family. And so we had scheduled a few years earlier an opportunity to go out to California and play where 2 Cali seniors and 2 Cali juniors hailed from. Not many people want to play you when you're in the top 10 in the country, so it was a tough game to schedule, but the Cal State Golden Bears scheduled us, and all of our kids, not just the Cali kids, but the whole roster, had been looking forward to this opportunity to take our 4 players home to play in California. And so we flew out there in November. And I don't know if you know much about the state of California, but there's a lot of things to do. So going to a basketball game is not like the top of the list of priorities. So Cal doesn't draw very well. There's typically not a huge audience there. However, when Oklahoma came to town, the entire arena was full of people wearing crimson and cream. my players' families, their friends, their high school teachers, their coaches, their teammates. It was full. Aunties, uncles, grandma, grandpa, everybody. It was full of red and white. It was an exciting thing to be a part of. In the first half, ball goes up, and the first thing that happens is Courtney Pierce misses a layup. The next thing that happens, 2-3 possessions down the road, Ashley fouls and gets 2 fouls. And then Danielle Robinson misses a free throw. You're like, what is happening? We can't seem to throw it in the ocean off a boat. In the meantime, Cal can close their eyes and throw it backwards, and it's going in. I tried everything I could think of. I called timeout multiple times. I substituted. You get in there, see if you can make a layup. I tried different offenses. I tried different defenses. Nothing seemed to work. The buzzer blew for us to go in at halftime, and we were down by 26. 26, I know. That's exactly how I felt. 26 at halftime. And I remember walking off the court so angry, my head was about to explode, and trying to come up with what I would possibly say to them, trying to control my own anger, my own frustration, trying to figure things out. And I had an assistant coaching staff that was very even keel. Like, they just didn't get too high or too low, and they always were supportive and had, instructive things to share with me at halftime. They had completely lost their minds. We were around the corner. We're in the hallway getting ready to go down toward where our locker room is. One of them threw his notebook, and one of them said, you should not bench the starters. Play people that have never played before. We should go to full court press. We haven't full court pressed ever. They're just losing their minds. And I'm like, heavens. And in all of the cacophony, all I could hear was Barry Switzer saying one time, if you're not careful, you can convince your team at halftime that they can't win. Now, Coach Switzer and I are friends, but it's not like we talk on the phone every week. I hadn't seen him in several months. I have no idea why the king, not that king, but the king, was in my head. But I was hearing him say, if you're not careful, you can convince your team at halftime that they can't win. And so I quieted my assistants, and I walked into the locker room, and I know my face was beet red. I was so agitated. And I grabbed the dry erase marker, and I looked at him, and then I turned around to draw something on the board, and I looked at him again. I turned around and drew half a court, and I looked at him again. And then I said, I need you to do 3 things. If you do 3 things, we can win this game. But you have to do these 3 things. You have to commit to them right now. First thing I want to do is I want to run our 1-3-1 half trap. We ran that usually after free throws, sometimes after made baskets. If you know anything about basketball, it's a really difficult thing to get into off of a missed shot because you got to run back to your area and you don't know where the ball is and it's coming at you. And I said, we're going to run it every time. We'd never run it off of a missed basket before. We're going to run it every single possession of the second half. You got to commit to it. If it's a missed shot and you're running back and you're supposed to be on the right wing and you end up on the left, you scream at your teammate to cover that and you get her spot. Just find your spots and run the 1-3-1. Can you do that? Okay. So the second thing I want you to do is we're going to run money. Money's a little set that we had that we get a backdoor cut off of. I said, here's what's going to happen. The first time we run money, we're going to get the backdoor cut. Point guard, if you make a great, Danielle Robinson, if you make a great quick stop and reverse pivot, we're going to get her on a backdoor cut. Second thing that's going to happen is the post defender is going to slide over there to try to take away that backdoor cut, and we're going to go down the gut to Courtney at the block. She's going to be wide open. And the third thing that's going to happen is once we've done that twice, they're going to take away the back door, and the wing guy's going to slide in front of Courtney, and you're going to throw it to the corner. Our shooter's going to make a 3. That's how it's going to start. And then the rest of the game, you're just going to run that play and take whatever they give you. And the third thing is, I need you to play for each other. Because see, right now, you're playing for all those people in the stands, and they can't help you a bit. And you're playing against those players at Cal that you played summer ball with, and you played high school ball against, and you're worried about them. All you need to think about, the people wearing your jerseys. You got to play for each other. If you do that, I promise you, you'll like the way this ends. 26 down. We run out the second half, first possession of the game, Cal's ball on the sideline. We're in a 1-3-1. They throw a lazy pass. We tip it. D-Rob goes and makes a layup. Oh, yeah. Next possession. A player from Cal takes an ill-advised shot, which is part of the strength of a 1-3-1. Get a guy who can't make it to shoot it. She did. We got the rebound, went down the length of the floor, made another layup. Within the first 2 minutes, we had scored 3 times, and so we cut the deficit to only 20. That's it. First time we ran money, oh, it was slick. We got that backdoor cut. I felt so good. Second time we ran it, guess what? We got Courtney down the gut. Third time we ran it, we skipped it to the corner, and Naisha buried a 3. We were off and running. The more baskets we made, the more turnovers Cal made, because the looser we got, the tighter they got. We go through, and with about 4 minutes left in the game, we took the lead. The final score of that basketball game was 86-75, Oklahoma. I know, right? We're in the NCAA record book. Biggest comeback in a regulation game in the history of NCAA women's basketball. Now, I don't know that that's something you want to be in the record book for. I don't know how proud of that I am. However, Cal is also in the record book for largest lead lost, so I think we got the better end of that. But there were 3 takeaways from that down and almost dead and buried position that we found ourselves in. And the first was this: we didn't spend any time talking about what had happened. See, happened is a past tense word, and there's not anything you can do about the past. If you were watching us play, you gotta remember, I just witnessed like 20 minutes of the worst basketball I'd ever seen, much less coached. It was horrific. And when you look from the outside in at how we were playing, you would say maybe we were tight, playing in front of a bunch of loved ones and a big crowd. Maybe we were tight, but we weren't tight. We were cool. We were like Cali cool. Like we weren't chasing down long rebounds. We weren't flying around for loose balls. We were playing a lot of one-on-one. And that was not who we were. That was not how we had played all year long. But I didn't talk about any of that. We didn't talk about any of that. What we did was talk about what we wanted to happen next. It was all about pouring energy into the future. In Philippians, God says, don't be anxious about anything, but by prayer and supplication, with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known unto God. In other words, move on. Give it to Him. When you're in a hole, stop digging. Give the hardship to the healer who is ready, willing, and able to handle it. The second thing took away from that down, dead, and almost buried event was we didn't give them 57 things to do. You know, we just said, here are 3 things that you can do, 3 things that they could handle, that they were familiar with, that they could count on, 3 things that they knew would work because they had demonstrated ability with those 3 things. And so our focus was very specific, our marching orders were very tight, and we went out and we performed those things. You know, this happens a lot. At the first of every year, millions of people make New Year's resolutions, right? They're going to get fit and lose weight. And the way that they're going to do that is they're going to meal prep, and they're going to calorie count, and they're going to do cardio, and they're going to lift weights, and they're going to take up pickleball, and they're going to do yoga. And before you know it, they're so overwhelmed, they don't even know where to start. And so they don't. They clip their own wings before they even get off the ground. What we learned is that when the deficit is great, start small. Do little things that you can handle. So if you're struggling with something, maybe your to-do is very simply to hymn your day in prayer. Your get up and your lay down is a talk with God, and that's what you do, and you do it every single day. Or maybe your to-do is you're going to call a counselor or a therapist. You're going to make that call and stick with that relationship. Or maybe you're just going to bypass the 10 o'clock news and instead replace that with a podcast or a worship playlist, something that helps you frame your sleep and thus your next day a little bit better. Simple things. In Proverbs, God says, 1 step at a time, I will reveal for you the way. Be intentional with what you do, not what you worry about. Number 3, they had to trust those of us in charge. Now, unlike God, we are fallible as coaches, but we had an idea, we had a plan because we had been there before. These kids had not been there before. We had been there before, and we had a plan, and so they showed great faith in us. They trusted in the game plan that we provided them. Now, I gotta tell you, I did not pray, at least not formally or out loud, at halftime of that game because I do believe that God is completely ambivalent about the outcome of basketball games. However, he is not ambivalent about you. He cares about your hurts. He cares about healing you, and he is capable of doing that. We have to place our trust in God. In Luke 10, he says, God gives us authority, the Bible says, God gives us authority to trample snakes and scorpions and overpower the enemy. We don't always know what that's going to look like or how it's going to come about, but he promises us that we can count on that. In 2019, we all found ourselves at the base of a mountain that we did not sign up to climb. We're all going a million miles an hour, not really paying that much attention to anybody else. And this thing called COVID-19 pops up like a monolith in the middle of the freeway, and we run into it with our face. What happens next is a bunch of really hard things. You know, one of the facts of the world is that people we love die. Businesses we build crash. Houses we buy burn. Trees we plant get blown away. It's a fact of life that the world disappoints us, that sometimes our family lets us down, that our health fails, that our friends disappear. What makes us think we can't sometimes? Life. Chaos drowns out the peace, and we can't hear and we can't see the way to overcome. When my son was little, he was in kindergarten, and they had career week. And that's when they asked parents to come in and talk about what they do for a living. I got invited to come talk, which was super cool, but I'm not sure what I'm going to say because I'm a ball coach, so I go in carrying a basketball. I know that Chloe's dad is a fireman. Like, that's so not fair, you know? But I remember going in, and I asked the little kids at first, who can dribble? Oh, I can. Okay, awesome. Who in here can sing? Me. Who can dance? Oh, I can. Who can draw? I can, me. I left thinking, whoa, this is a gifted collection of kindergartners. There is nothing they can't do. And later that day, as fate would have it, I was speaking to a class on the campus of the University of Oklahoma. It was an evening class, and there were about 60 or 70 students in it. And when I was walking to the front, I thought, I'm going to try something. And I said, who in here can dribble? And there were about 4 people that kind of went like this. And I said, who in here can dance? A smattering. Who in here can draw? Not one. Who in here can sing? Some guy in the back said, does the shower count? I said, I'll take it, dude. Something had happened. Either this was the greatest collection of losers ever assembled, or something had happened between kindergarten and college. And you and I both know what happened. A kid drew a picture, and somebody said, what's that? And the kid danced, and a bunch of people laughed. And a kid sang, and somebody put their fingers in their ears. And all of a sudden, they didn't know what they could do anymore. What happens to make us think we can't? Life happens. But we have the utmost confidence in a God who sent his son to die on the cross so that we might have hope in everlasting life. Even when life tempts us by saying, you can't, we know that we can. Enjoy today.